Well, nothing happens by chance or outside the universal laws. In fact, every action, including every thought, has a reaction or consequence. You know the saying, we reap what we sow. So in accordance to this law, every effect you see in your outside or physical world has a very specific cause, which has its origin in your inner or mental world. This is the essence of thought power. Every one of your thoughts, words, or actions sets a specific effect in motion, which will eventually come to materialize over time. In today's busy world, how can we find the inspiration, knowledge, and energy to live a healthy and empowered life if we balance and harmonize our mind, exercise our body, live according to the laws of nature, and connect to spirit? Can we find a way to heal, become our authentic self, and live our purpose with love? I am your hostess, Amy Fournier, and welcome back to Awakening Aphrodite. Welcome back to Awakening Aphrodite with Amy Fournier. I'm so happy to have you here with me today for this episode. In this episode, I'm going to share with you some secrets, okay? Some majorly powerful secrets. And part of the reason why they're secrets is because these are things that are operating all the time, which most people are not aware of. We were aware of them in ancient cultures as we passed down these ideas. But now, in this current, modern, sophisticated day and age, unfortunately, they're not taught in schools. And they're really not common knowledge. But these are spiritual laws for success and living life with love and creativity and happiness, basically. These are the laws that are happening and all the time behind the scenes and determining what happens in not only our lives, but the bigger picture of the world as we know it. So I'm calling these the 12 spiritual laws of success in love, work, and life. And today I'm sharing them with you with the hopes that this is going to help empower you to understand life a little bit better, to see the bigger picture, get out of the mundane of the everyday, and maybe give you an awareness and to open your mind as to why things might be happening the way they are. And most importantly, what you can do to influence them so they can kind of work in your favor a little bit more. Good idea, don't you think? So these are the truths that are involved with living a life not only wisely, but well. And these principles determine or actually allow the universe to promote, to function in harmony, if you will. They're kind of the governing principles behind the scenes of the world as we know it. So once you understand and apply and align yourselves with these universal laws, you will experience transformation in every area of your life beyond that you probably even thought was possible, because you're really going to get the inside owner's manual, if you will, the bigger picture of the world. These aren't the laws that you think of like, oh, stop at a red light and all that kind of stuff, like cultural laws. We're going much bigger than that. We're going macro here, okay? So, hey, let's get right to it. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. The first one is the Law of Divine Oneness. Okay, this is the law that states everything is connected to everything else. You've probably heard this expression, we are all one, right? Or it is all one. Well, and you know, the idea behind most religions, at least most Abrahamic religions, like Judaism and Christianity, and even Islam, is a monolithic God, that there's one God, there's one universal source, one universal truth, one universal governing body, if you will, one God. And that is actually based on the law of divine oneness, that we are all one. We're all from one source, and actually we're actually all expressions of each other. So everything is connected to everything else is what this law states. So we can extrapolate that to think, what we say, what we do, what we believe, all these things will have a corresponding effect on others as well as the universe around us. Very, very powerful principle to wrap your brain around. Okay, the second one is the law of vibration. Science has confirmed that everything in the universe, including you, is pure energy vibrating at different frequencies. I like to say, and I've mentioned this in several of my shows, that you have to think of yourself as like a big battery. Basically, we are electric. When you die, your heart stops beating and there's no more current going through your body. And that's that energy that you feel when you're around someone who's vivacious and healthy and optimistic, and you can just feel that energy. It's palatable, and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the vibration, and that's a big reason why I like to be healthy and fit, because it raises my vibration. It opens me up to more things that are aligned with that principle, because like attracts like, right? So the law of vibration is stating that everything is operating on a vibrational frequency. Dense matter like a rock or a chair or a sofa is something that's denser. So the frequency, the vibration is operating at a little bit of a lower range, whereas something that has a high vibration is lighter, like a feather is a lot lighter, so to speak. The matter is less dense. I will say, however, just to clarify, this isn't a value judgment here. It isn't like something light is good energy and higher. Higher, too much of a good thing is not a good thing, right? Higher is not always better. Sometimes you need to be more grounded and like somebody, that's kind of like off in the clouds in their heads and like just too, out there and just completely like major dreamer and never actually materializes, makes anything happen, or wishful thinking, or somebody that just can't focus and get their ideas like together or make things like produce. That's too high, right? Too high of a vibration. You got to kind of come down to earth a little bit and materialize, if you will. So, it doesn't mean one is good or one is bad. As all things, it's a matter of having the discretion to know how to walk that line and how to, ebb and flow into one range and then the other. So the law of vibration also states that nothing rests. Everything in the universe moves and vibrates and travels in circular patterns. Again, it's just a matter of how quickly or how slowly it is vibrating. Some principles in vibration in the physics world apply to our thoughts, our feelings, our desires, and even sound. Sound is a very obvious one. That vibration, you can feel. You ever go to like a nightclub or something, or a bar, and or even like a health club maybe, and you can feel the reverberation of these sound frequencies you could feel it in your body, like your body might be moving. Or like some guy drives by in the street and you can hear him coming like 3 blocks away because his like bass is just like boom, boom, boom in the car. Yeah, so sound has vibration as well, but all things do. And our thoughts, this is a hard one to wrap your brain around, but your thoughts actually have that same powerful vibration that it is emitting. It's just that with most of our physical bodies, we can't perceive it. We can't perceive that energy being transmitted, but it's just as real as that sound vibration or the visual vibration. The light frequencies are just that. They're frequencies. They're vibrational frequencies. And if you think of the color spectrum of a rainbow, the red is a denser frequency, a denser vibration than something at the other end of the spectrum, like the blues and green tones. It's a different frequency. So all these vibrations are affecting us, whether we're aware of it or not. And of course, the axiom that I mentioned, like energy attracts like energy, is very appropriate here. And that's where we get the law of attraction. It's all based on this law, the law of vibration. It's like, are you vibing with me or not? Are we on the same wavelength? We have all these colloquialisms for these type of this type of concept, but it's all based on this ancient law of vibration. So everything we experience with our 5 physical senses is conveyed through these vibrations. The same applies to the mental realm, as I've been mentioning. Your thoughts actually are vibrations. And yes, we actually can measure them. all your emotions are vibrations as well. So is unconditional love, which is actually the highest and most subtle of all of those emotional vibrations. Whereas hate, the emotion of hate, is the densest and the lowest. These things actually change the way and the speed in which your cells oscillate. So they actually change the matter. Something that is immaterial can change the material, and we can see that happen with really high power microscopes, etc. So the good news is you can control your mental vibrations at will, because it is truly the power of your thoughts. If you don't like the way that you're feeling, you probably want to look at the way you're thinking. You're probably focusing on things you don't like. You're probably focused on what you don't have. You're probably worrying yourself to death, or anticipating the future, or bemoaning the past. You're probably not in the present. So if you don't like the way you're feeling, think of how you're feeling, and vice versa. If you don't like the way you're feeling, think of how you're thinking. So they kind of go together, obviously. And then focus on what you want, not on what you don't want. That's the oldest trick in the book for getting in a better mood fast. All right. Next is the law of action. The law of action is a universal spiritual law. And this law must be employed in order for us to manifest things on earth. I kind of alluded to this in the last one, that, we can put happy stickers on stuff and think, law of attraction, I'm visualizing, the perfect person's going to walk into my life today, or I'm going to have, the car of my dreams in my driveway by next week, all these visualizations. But when it comes right down to it, you have to utilize the law of action, right? That famous Quaker saying, one of my favorites, is pray and move your feet. Pray and move your feet. So you have to believe, you have to put it out there and believe in something greater bringing to you something, particularly the more it's like a real big dream, right? Something that's so big, you're like, gosh, I don't even know if this is realistic, if I'm just being like completely unrealistic here. But you've got to believe, and you've got to put it out there. But then you have to do something about it. You can't just sit in your house and think the mailman's going to deliver to you the ideal thing, whatever it is you want. Okay, so the law of action has to be employed in order to manifest things on earth. We must engage in actions that support our dreams, thoughts, and words. And that goes true to anything too. It might be just even in your fitness. Like, okay, I visualize myself a perfect figure and feeling healthy and being able to run up the stairs in my house and have all the energy I want to do, all the things I want to do every day. But then if your actions don't line up with that, and you find that you keep going back into old habits of, eating pizza late at night and just, not feeling like doing anything, so you don't, and you keep buying the soda instead of the water and all those little things, your actions are not lining up. And then obviously you're not going to manifest what you dream of. All right. Universal law number 4 is the law of correspondence. This universal law states that the principles or laws of physics that explain the physical world energy, light, vibration, and motion have their corresponding principles in the esoteric or universe. That famous saying, as above, so below. This is the law of correspondence. We've probably heard that before. Again, as above, so below. It's actually the name of one of my favorite books that I've referred to in other shows. Because this is the law of correspondence. This means basically that there's harmony, agreement, and correspondence between the physical, mental, and spiritual realms. Okay? I guess it kind of goes back to the first law, the law of divine oneness, right? But there's harmony, that it is all a bigger picture. We might not understand it, but somehow this big soup of a stew, all the ingredients kind of are, coagulating and connecting with each other. Kind of a cool idea, actually. So there's no separation, since everything in the universe, including you, originates from the one source. And again, this is the law of correspondence. As above, so below. Okay. Cool. So, all right, the next law is the law of cause and effect. Now, this one, a lot of us are familiar with. I bet you're like, oh yeah, I've heard of that one. Well, nothing happens by chance or outside the universal laws. In fact, every action, including every thought, has a reaction or consequence. You know the saying, we reap what we sow. So in accordance to this law, every effect you see in your outside or physical world has a very specific cause, which has its origin in your inner or mental world. This is the essence of thought power. Every one of your thoughts, words, or actions sets a specific effect in motion, which will eventually come to materialize over time. To become the master of your destiny, you must master your mind. For everything in reality is a mental creation first. Know that there is nothing like chance or luck, and those things are just simple terms that were coined by humanity in ignorance of the law of cause and effect. Cool. Boy, this is a hard one to wrap your brain around, I will admit, right? Because you might be saying, well, wait a second, hold on. You had me until right now, because why would I manifest X, Y, and Z that I don't want in my life? I'm right with you on that one. I feel the same way. But there are schools of thought that say, you know, we are projecting ourselves all the time, whether we like it or realize it or not. And I think it was Arthur Beasley in the Universal Principles, and that's he said that if you don't like what you're getting in your life, you've got to look at your subconscious, what you're subconsciously creating. Ouch. That's a hard one. Yeah. And then it's harder even still to actually unwrap the subconscious and go there. A lot of times you really need the help of a skilled therapist to even access your subconscious. But if you want to get started, what I suggest is really start analyzing your dreams. Start remembering and looking at your dreams, because that's going to tell you a lot about your subconscious. And learn about dream analysis. Study the work of Carl Jung or any other of the depth psychologists. And also to start using your imagination. That's another way to really get into your subconscious, and as well as heal your inner child. So looking at your dreams and starting to awaken your imagination. It's so sad how we have just completely lost it, most of us as adults, for sure. And if you want to be aware of how much so, just spend time with children and see how imaginative and beautifully creative they are, and how they see the world with such fresh eyes. And we tend to get jaded and we miss all the joy. We don't smell the roses, and we totally lose touch with our imagination. Like any other muscle or ability in the body, it will atrophy. It will go away without use. So I use painting. It's one of the best ways for me to help not only emote emotions that I don't understand, but help let the inner me, my subconscious mind to come out. And as I start to learn more about art therapy, I'm starting to understand how to interpret my own art and what my inner self is trying to communicate to me, whereas my logical, rational, conscious self blocks out or doesn't understand. But there's a part of you that wants to communicate, wants so badly to express itself. And unfortunately, a lot of us are expressing ourselves that way through destructive measures, right? Or unproductive measures. That can be the behavior you don't understand why you keep doing and can't stop doing it. That can be your subconscious trying to get your attention somehow. And unfortunately, it's doing so in unproductive ways. It can also be through any addictions. Over shopping, overspending, over exercising, overeating, even addiction to social media, right? Just creative distraction is what I call it. All of a sudden, you're just so damn busy, but you're so busy. That's because you're not paying attention to what's really important, because you're telling yourself you're so busy. It's a story. I've done it most of my life. Trust me, I know all about that. Okay, I call it creative distraction. That's just going off on a little bit of a tangent here to help you get in touch with your subconscious, because again, it is really driving the ship, whether you like it or not. So you can start by tapping into your dreams and start developing your imagination in some regard, and that will help you to really access your subconscious. Okay, So, for the law of cause and effect, your intentions are instantly created. So that's a really cool thought to think about. Intention. What is your intention behind something is really more powerful and more important, in my opinion, than the outcome, right? Like if something is done with malice or, wanting to make another person feel worse than you or whatever, a judgment, that's a certain kind of energy. But if something is done with good intention in that, my heart was in the right place, maybe it didn't come out perfectly, but I was trying to do this for the right reasons, for love and compassion and acceptance and all that kind of stuff. So intentions are powerful, and this law states that they're instantly created. The law of cause and effect applies on all three planes of existence, the spiritual, the mental, and the physical. So the difference is that on the spiritual plane, cause and effects are instantaneous, such that they appear inseparable, whereas on the other planes, our concept of time and space creates a time lag between the cause and the eventual effect. So, in the spiritual and plane, things are just instant. It's very true because there's no time. It's called stacked time, rather than the way we think of time, which is linear time. Well, in the higher dimensions, in the spiritual realms, there is no linear time, if you will, because in the spiritual realm, everything's happening all at the same time. I know it's a really hard concept to wrap your brain around. I get it. And it's one I'm still studying myself to really try to not only conceptualize it, but really take it into myself. It's quite hard to do. I get it. But, it's hard to do in our culture because we are constantly reminded of the passage of time. First of all, our whole culture is operating on a clock, right? The 24-hour cycle, the circadian rhythm. And we see the sun rise and then we see the sun go down, and then we see ourselves getting older. We see things changing, the calendar, the dates on the calendar, events, holidays, whatever. The passage of time is something that we're constantly reminded of. But when we step outside of that time, basically, it's not necessarily that it stands still. It's just that it's all happening at once. And wow, you want to talk about anti-aging? There you go. So we know that when you focus on your chosen goals with intention of using creative visualization, that which you want to create in the physical world is automatically manifested in the spiritual world. And with perseverance, practice, and continued concentrated thought, it will also materialize in the physical world. So that's the key, is that when you conceptualize something in your heart and your spirit, you visualize it in your imagination, in your visualization, and you feel it like it's real. I really feel like I have this thing I want. I'm in that perfect relationship. I see myself together holding hands. I'm in that perfect healthy body that's vivacious and allows me to do everything I want to do. I'm in my dream home. I can feel it. I can smell it. I can see the flowers on the table. I can see the green grass as I look out my backyard. You visualize it. It's actually happening. And then the next step is to persevere, persist. Most people just give up. They visualize maybe for a couple days or even a week or a month, but then they quit, right? They just stop. And they think, oh, well, it didn't work. Well, sometimes it takes a little while. I guess you got to keep going. So eventually, when all the things line up, those things will materialize. So, all right, let's go to the next one. Everyone's most popular favorite one, the law of attraction. So this law demonstrates how we create the things, events, and people that come into our lives. Our thoughts, feelings, words, and actions produce energies, which in turn attract like and similar energies. So negative energies attract negative energies, and positive energies attract positive energies. This is why it's so important that you really get honest and clear on what vibe am I giving out. Not the vibe, like I call it smacking the happy face on sticker on top of something, because people feel the insincerity. They know it, right? They know when you're just being, oh, I'm so happy and nice, and aren't I a nice person? They can tell. They can tell when it's not heartfelt, okay? People feel energy. They feel where your heart and your intentions are. So like attracts like. And we have to be responsible for our energy that we are bringing into any space. And be truthful, be honest. And maybe you're not in a good place. No one needs to be perfect all the time. That's not what this is about. Okay? It's about maybe sometimes it's like, you know what? I'm really in a bad mood today. I'm just having a bad day. I'm sorry. You're just going to have to kind of ignore everything I say today or give me a pass because I'm human and I'm usually in a good mood, but today I'm having trouble. So, just cut me a little slack. And even just saying that and be honest. And it's better than faking it, right? Because they're going to feel if you're faking it anyway. So what's the point? So law of attraction, really being honest of what you're putting out there and what you're getting back and what you want to get back. And are you putting out what you're getting back? Are you being the energy that you want to receive? Honestly, something to think about. Let's talk about the law of polarity. This is a really important one and super important for our show, Awakening Aphrodite, because Aphrodite, hopefully you heard that episode. I think it's episode 2 where I explain the name of the show. Aphrodite, everyone knows her as the goddess of love and sexuality and sensuality and beauty, but she was also the goddess of relationships and self-love and also of reflection. She is the feminine divine energy, which is the energy of reflection. I mentioned in that episode that she is often depicted holding a mirror, and that mirror is often misconstrued as because she is very vain and she's interested in only her looks and her beauty. But, my friend, that is incorrect. She is looking in a mirror because she is teaching us about self-reflection, about looking at ourselves, about the power of taking the time to stop, be quiet, and reflect. Even if it's just every night before you go to bed, you reflect on the day. You reflect on your feelings. So it's you process. You take some time to pay attention to pause, and not just the go, 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 which is the masculine, which is very important, okay? That's another god. That's not Aphrodite. Our girl Aphrodite takes her time. She savors. She slows down. She does not apologize for her needs or her feelings. She feels them. She sucks the juice out of them. She squeezes that orange till there's not a drop left of juice. She goes all in, and she's 100% present. But she reflects, and that's part of her power. Is she goes within and checks in with herself. How can we be powerful and manifest the life we want and love ourselves if we don't check in with ourselves? So a lot of people think of Venus and they think of the moon. And Venus is another name for Aphrodite, by the way. The Greeks called her one thing and the Roman called her another, but it's the same goddess principle. But they associate her with the moon. Why? Because yes, the moon is the feminine, whereas the sun is the masculine, but she reflects. That's what Aphrodite does, and that's what the moon does. It reflects the light. The moon is not the light. The sun is the light. The moon reflects the sun's light, and the two work together. That's the polarity, and that's what we're talking about, because I feel like in our culture, particularly with women, a lot of times we're out of balance with that polarity. The polarity of the masculine and feminine is not harmonized. We are too masculine when we want to identify more as a feminine, or a feminine being, or a feminine energy, which is what I just mentioned, the law of savoring, the law of slowing down, the law of feeling, the law of self-reflection. Okay? So I know all about that because I lived most of my life too much in my masculine. I was a doer. I was a goer. I was very ambitious. Now I still am, and I still struggle with it. I struggle all the time with my workaholism. But I've learned a lot better how to balance and bring in more of the feminine. And that's why I did the show on this, because I want to help you learn what I've been learning and to share together as we learn together and continue to be more harmonized and integrated in our masculine and feminine selves. Okay, that's really what this is about. And that brings us back to the law of polarity, because that's what the polarity is the two extremes, and the harmony of knowing the dance, the ebb and flow between one polarity and the other. Think of it as like a ping pong ball or bumping back and forth between the bumpers, hitting each edge and then kind of going down the middle. Okay, so you're bumping back and forth from one extreme polarity to the other, and to find that middle way, to find that path down the center, and to have the discretion to know when you want to be on one end or the other. When is it time to get up and get going and get done and get focused, the masculine, and when is it time to reflect? Okay, so the law of polarity is everything is on a continuum and has an opposite. Okay, it has that opposite. We can suppress and transform undesirable thoughts by concentrating on the opposite pole. It is the law of mental vibrations. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has a pair of opposites. As they say in Chinese medicine, everything has a front and a back. Okay? Nothing is all good. Nothing is all bad. Everything has that polarity. Wrap your brain around that one for a minute. Okay, so the opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. I like to tell people to visualize the Tai Chi symbol. You know, that symbol that's half black and half white and has that squiggly line down the middle, and the white has a dot of black in it, and the black has a dot of white in it. Well, that symbolizes the law of polarity, that it is a wavy ebb and flow between the two extremes, and they each contain a component of the other within themselves. So the white has a black dot, the black has a white dot. Nothing is 100% extreme. Everything is this dance between a matter of degree, and that is the law of polarity. So this is a very, very important and powerful one to understand, because it's actually the first of the mutable or transcendable universal laws. I did not mention that, but some of the laws that we're discussing are mutable, meaning they're transcendable, they're malleable, whereas some are really fixated. Well, this one is one of the transcendable ones. It's more muted than the others. So it basically means that there's two sides to everything, like I've been mentioning. Things that appear as opposites are in fact only two extremes of the same thing. Wrap your brain around that one for a minute. Things appear as opposites are in fact only two extremes of the same thing. For instance, heat and cold may appear to be opposite at first, but in truth, they're simply varying degrees of the same thing. The same applies to love and hate, peace and war, positive and negative, good and evil, yes and no, light and darkness, energy and matter, masculine and feminine, etc. You getting the idea? You can transform your thoughts from hate to love, from fear to courage, by consciously raising your vibrations. This is what in the ancient Homeric traditions and teachings is called the art of polarization. Something I need to study more. But this is something really to maybe meditate on, or go back and listen to this again, because it's a very, very important and powerful concept. This idea of the law of polarity. Everything has a front and a back, and everything that appears to be the extreme of the other is really a transmutable illusion. Very, very heady, isn't it, I think? Yes. All right, let's get into number 8. This one is important as well. Not that they're all not important, but one that might be more relatable, should I say. And it's the law of rhythm. Everything vibrates and moves to certain rhythms. I mean, heck, we're born with rhythm, right? Our heartbeat is rhythm. Your second chakra, which is your pelvis, is the rhythm chakra. That's part of the reason why dancing often involves your pelvis. And that's actually the hormonal center of your body, because the hormones are rhythms. They're your biochemical rhythms inside your body. So everything vibrates and moves to rhythms. These rhythms establish the seasons, okay, in the world, the cycles, the stages of development, and the patterns. Each cycle reflects the regularity of the universe. Masters know how to rise above negative parts of a cycle by never getting too excited or allowing negative things to penetrate their consciousness. This is a very cool concept. I've heard kind of said different ways many times before. But it's like try not to let the extremes rule your emotions, because, that manic depressive thing, because everything is a front and a back, right? The high of the high means that's the low of the low. It means you're carving out how much your capacity is for one side or the other. It's that flipping that coin. So spiritual masters know that they always kind of pull it back a little bit, never let themselves get too high or too low. And the same, we can apply this to everyday life by even just when you think of something like, do you let praise really make you feel good? Like when someone's like, oh, wow, you're amazing, or I love your podcast, or, you get, 20 likes on a post you put on social media, and that feels really good, right? Well, if that's happening, and we're all going to be honest, it's hard not to let it happen, right? We all want to feel like validated by other people and accepted and approved of, and we're like our what we're offering as value to the world. I mean, I sure do struggle with that as well. But you have to remember that if you allow that to happen and allow that to make you feel good, then you must accept that you're also going to feel really bad when you get negative criticism, or people don't approve of you, or you get zero interaction, no hits, no likes, no nothing, no feedback, right? Because you can't have both. You can't have the good without the bad. And the truly self-contained, non-reactive, truly empowered person is one, this is a hard one, but is one that doesn't let the praise affect their own self-concept, their own self-esteem, nor the criticism. Super hard to do, right? Who doesn't get their feelings hurt when someone criticizes something about you? Really hard to do. But the truly ascended masters do this, okay? They don't let the opinions, good or bad, of others affect them. Hard to do. I'm trying to do it myself. Sometimes when someone says something nasty, I'll just be like, no, you don't understand. That wasn't what I meant. Or no, that's not who I am at all. Or, no, I don't have to defend myself. I don't have to explain myself. Most of the time, anybody's negative comments about you are just their perception, and they're projecting their own negative crap on you anyway. And it's usually not even about you. But to get to the place where you don't let either the good or bad opinions of others affect you, and I mean really honestly, it just really doesn't affect you, is very empowering and something to strive for, I think. The law of rhythm tells us that everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. Everything rises and falls. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. It always finds that middle path. That's why they say the Tao is the middle way, right? It's the middle way. This principle can be seen in operation in the waves of the ocean, right? The ebb and the flow, as I've been referring to, and the rise and fall of the greatest empires, in business cycles, in the swaying of your thoughts from being positive to negative, and in your personal success and failures. In accordance to this law, when anything reaches a point of accumulation, then the backward swing begins, and almost unnoticeably, this can happen until such a time that any forward movement has been totally reversed. Then the forward movement begins again, and the process is repeated. Okay? So you can think of it as, the seasons. That beautiful famous saying, everything has a season, a reason, or a lifetime. You just have to figure out which one it is, particularly with the people in your life. Some people come into your life for a season, right, which is a rhythm, right? The winter, spring, summer, fall, it's a season, a cycle of time. Or they come into your life for a reason, like just to teach you something about yourself, about other people, or just, it was a business relationship at a time. They gave you a service, there was a contractor, whatever it may be, or a lifetime. Yes, some things and people are a season of a human lifetime, which is what, 60, 70, 80 years, okay? The trick is to figure out which one they are, which one the situation is. Is it a season? Is it just a period of my life? I'm just pregnant right now, but I'm not going to be forever. No, I'm not pregnant. I'm just giving that as an example. It's a season. It's not forever, right? or it's a reason to teach you something, or it is a lifetime thing. Like now, this is a now forever thing. So note, to transcend the swing of the pendulum, you must become aware of the subtle start of the backward movement. Okay, so it's going to be really subtle when all of a sudden that inertia stops and the pendulum, just for a moment, is almost like at a perceptual standstill. Then it's going to go back the other way, right? But that's the key moment. That's the key moment. That's when change is happening, right? When you're like, that's it. No more. I have enough. I'm doing this. Boom. That pendulum stopped. No more doing this. Now I'm going back the other way, my friend. Okay? So that's a pivotal moment. And this could be anything, like I said, with your health, your finances, your relationships, any goal that you want to set in motion. When you feel this law, the law of rhythm, start to draw you back and you do not become fearful or discouraged, this is very important and empowering, okay? Because you want to just remember this law, that things ebb and flow. Instead, knowing that you're one with the omnipotent, universal mind for which nothing is impossible, it will help keep your thoughts focused on your outcome and fight to remain positive no matter how back this transitory law pulls you. Remember, it's not forever, right? Even a good feeling isn't forever, and sometimes people bum out about that, right? But that's life. Life, that's change. Life is the ebb and the flow. But the same goes for the negative. That's the flip side. Is okay, this completely sucks right now. I'm just not in a good place. But thank God the good news is that it's not forever, right? This too shall pass, as they say, right? And that works both in your favor and sometimes not for your favor. When you're in a good situation, you want it to last forever. That's only natural. But that would not be consistent with the law of rhythm. Just last point on that is just I encourage you to persevere, and in time you will be rewarded as the backward movement of that pendulum swings and becomes less negative relative to any other swing, and will help raise you to your higher self. Let's see. Let's talk about the law of choices. That would be number 9. The law of choices is about reclaiming your power. Yeah, all right. I'm all about reclaiming your power. We're both burdened and blessed by the great responsibility of free will, which is the power of choice. Our future destiny is determined in large part by the choices we make now, right now. Where you're alive, you have the power to choose. Even if it's just choosing how to think, you have the power to choose. So grab it, use it, take advantage of it. Choose what you want to tell yourself, what you want to believe, what you want to think, and watch it materialize. Because the first change happens in the mind, okay? Can't happen until you think it, until you just program that brain, okay? So, our future destiny is determined in large part by the choices we make right now. We cannot always control our circumstances. Of course, that's not true. We can't always control our circumstances and how other people or the outside world is acting. But we can and do choose our response to whatever arises, right? The word response, think about it. It's response, responsibility, right? You have the ability to respond. Okay. And so reclaiming the power of choice, we find the courage to live life fully in the world. You can make choices through your heart and intuitive wisdom, or you can make choices through fears, reactions, habits, automatic pilot, right? Just really not making a conscious choice. How often do we do that? Wow, more than we probably like to admit. The next law is the law of process. And this is the law, super important, of law of taking things step by step, that things have a determined order, right? There's a reason why you go to kindergarten before you go to grad school, okay? You really need to wrap your brain around this step-by-step process, the law of process, when you're trying to achieve something, because sometimes this cannot be ignored, right? If you try to take a shortcut or circumvent it or get around it or biohack it, it's going to fall apart eventually, right? It's going to be a house of cards rather than a house built on brick and mortar. So the process transforms any journey into a series of small steps, taken one by one to reach any goal. This is how we proceed. Process transcends time. It teaches us patience Ouch. None of us like that, but it's a necessary virtue. It rests on a solid foundation of careful preparation when necessary, and it embodies trust in our unfolding potential. Wow, a lot of big words here. A lot of important words. We talk about patience, trust, right? Hard things to do in our material world, but required for true spiritual courage and true progress, really, for growth. Got to have trust, got to have patience. The road to happiness is always full of changes along the way of life. We all know that. You know, you reach one goal and then, wow, next thing you know, you're just creating the next goal, right? We're always evolving as creatures. You know, one of my favorite sayings is by the founder of, kind of ironic, but McDonald's, Ray Kroc, who said, "You're either green and growing or you're ripe and rotten." It's true. Nothing's ever stagnant. It doesn't stay the same. So you're either going up and and your evolution, or you're going backwards. You're regressing. Okay. Do you ever meet anybody like maybe after not seeing them for a period of time, like 10, 20 years, and they're kind of still emotionally that same person they were when you were like in high school or something? You know, it's like they just kind of got stuck. So that means they're really going backwards. Okay. So things are always in a state of process, one direction or the other. The journey never ends. When discipline and patience join forces, they become a perseverance and a persistence to carry intentions to completion. So join patience, which is our feminine, right? Patience is a feminine quality, Aphrodite, with discipline, and that is a masculine quality. You put the two together and you've got magic, right? But you need them both. Because if you're only patient, like, oh, well, there's no rush. I can just wait. I didn't have to record the show today. I could just wait till I feel like it, and just be super patient. And the time is right, I will record the show. No, sometimes you have to have discipline. And I didn't feel like recording today, but it was on my calendar. It was the only time I had to do it. So I had to just, get it together and have the discipline and push myself through that resistance. And here we are in today's recording. So that's just an example of the dance between the masculine and the feminine, the discipline and the patience of making something happen, the law of process. Because when we persevere and combine those two polarities, boom, we have magic and we have completion. The law of integrity. The law of integrity is critical. Okay? This is about living your truth. Integrity means living and acting in alignment with spiritual law and with your highest vision, despite impulses to the contrary. Okay? From the heart of integrity, we recognize, accept, and express our authentic interior reality. It inspires others, not only with our words, but most importantly by our example. Give conscious awareness to your heart's highest wisdom. Our internal reality, rather than indulge in random impulses or desires, just like those fleeting feelings and emotions we have. But rather, again, this requires us to pause, reflect, and go within, which are feminine qualities we all need to do, regardless of how we identify. But to get in touch with our integrity. What really is your soul's truth? That is your integrity. And living your integrity means you are lined up with what you say are your values, that you're living them, you're expressing them, you're being them, okay, as much as humanly possible. So integrity is super important, and I will say it's one I've always aspired to so much in my life, and I've come into problems with it unbeknownst to myself, in that sometimes I would be in relationships or situations, like work or whatever, that I wasn't in my integrity. I still do pride myself as someone with integrity. I feel like I, speak truth and feel like I live compassionately and honestly, both with myself and others. But there has been times in my life where I wasn't in an integritous relationship. Okay, that there was a part of me that knew that I can't trust this person. This person's not being honest with me deep down, or it's not in my best interest to be in this relationship. But I was compromising. And I did the same with some jobs that I had. I was compromising my soul to do what I thought was right, quote unquote, or to make other people happy. And that's not being in integrity. I wasn't in integrity with myself. I didn't really know it at the time, or maybe it was one of those I chose not to believe it, or, bartered my way out of it and made all the excuses why that wasn't true. But now, when I have the blessing of being able to reflect back, retrospect, what do they say? That saying that, what's the retrospection has 20/20 vision. When you look back, you see clearly, right? But I see now that I wasn't in integrity. No wonder why things weren't lining up for me. No wonder why I was never that happy or fulfilled. No wonder why. Because I wasn't in integrity aligned with myself. So I'm going to leave it at that. Are you living to the law of integrity? Where are you not? Your feet, your soul, your heart, your body are all in the same place. And that's what makes the house solid and stand. Otherwise, it will not. All right, our final law, and there are more, okay, but I'm only sharing with you these. Maybe I'll do a follow-up show with the other spiritual laws. I think there's about 25 that I've come across in my studies. The last law is the law of surrender, embracing a higher will. This is a hard one, and again, it's really consistent with Awakening Aphrodite in our show because it is a feminine quality to surrender, and it is certainly one I have struggled with. If you've gone through any kind of trauma in your life, you will have trouble surrendering. Surrendering takes trust and requires a feeling of safety. If you don't trust or feel safe, you can sugarcoat it all you want and slap a happy sticker on it, but you are not going to fully surrender. And life will show you that in one way or another, that you did not fully surrender. But surrender means acceptance. Complete 100%, every cell in your body accepts. And you accept this moment, you accept this body and this life with open arms. Surrender involves getting out of your own way and living in accordance with a higher will, expressed as the wisdom of the heart. The heart is where wisdom lies, not in your brain. Your heart knows the truth. Your heart knows the truth, the universal truth. Your heart knows the answer. But God, for so long, I wasn't listening to mine. How about you? For so long, I was afraid to know what my heart was really trying to tell me. So, the heart is the seat of the soul, and it is the seat of wisdom. So whenever you're not sure what to do, close your eyes and drop your awareness into your heart as you take some deep breaths, and particularly focus on the exhales, because the exhales are where we release and surrender. And that's the feminine component, the exhale. That's the parasympathetic branch of your nervous system, which is also known as the rest and digest branch. It's the branch that restores your body, regenerates your organs. It's the anti-aging side of your body. It's why sometimes doing yoga rather than running and doing CrossFit all the time are going to get you closer to your health and fitness goals, because we have to balance the nervous system. It's not always about the out. A lot of times it's about the in and the inside and the resting, so the body can rejuvenate and heal and not fight you all the way, because it's trying to keep you alive, and it's always feeling like you're running from a lion, so it's constantly producing cortisol, which are the stress hormones, which will make your hair fall out and your belly fat. But that's another show. Anyway, the law of surrender. So surrendering is far more than passive acceptance. Don't get me wrong. We're not talking about being a doormat, okay? Absolutely not. Remember, I just said the wisdom lives in your heart. So you have to have courage to listen to your heart. That's for sure. And do what it tells you. Okay, so this isn't about passive acceptance and being a doormat, but surrender uses every challenge as a means of spiritual growth and expanded awareness. Okay, surrender uses every challenge as a means of spiritual growth and expanded awareness. Learn to surrender by shifting your perspective. Often this is called reframing. Okay, we can learn to surrender by shifting our perspective. Shifting your energy and shifting your attention from the desire of a smaller will to that of a higher will. Like, okay, you know that saying, give me the discretion to know what I can change, the wisdom to know what I can change, and the ability to change what I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I know I just totally annihilated that saying, but you know that saying I'm trying to think of right now, right? Is, accepting the things that I can't change, but changing the things I can change and having the wisdom to know the difference. So this is where surrender comes in. If you really can't change it, and you're sure you can't, then surrendering to it. Okay, so that's where this comes in. Very, very powerful. So you want to be like water, flowing and flexible, to bend with life's forces rather than struggling against them. The more you let go of attachments, the more you expand into greater freedom and peace, the more you will feel surrendering in action. So the law of surrender, very, very powerful. Accepting what we can't change. Just be sure it's actually true, though, that you can't change it. I'll say it in closing here. And that, like, for example, your body, you're getting older, or, any maybe struggle that you're having, but you can't lose weight, or you have some health condition or disease. Just be very careful that you don't think, oh, I have to surrender because it's in my genes. Okay. For example, that's a false belief. That's just not even accurately true. We now know with the epigenome and the study on, biology, just look up the work of Bruce Lipton and all these other pioneers. They're showing us that no, we now know that the expression of the genes is more of a determinant of the outcome than the actual gene themselves. Our lifestyle, our choices, our diet, our food, our water, our drinking, everything, etc., affects how the gene is expressed or not. That saying, genes might load the gun, but your lifestyle pulls the trigger. Okay, so just make sure before you surrender and think it's something you can't control, you are accurately correct that it is not something you can control. Like the weather, for example. That would be one I don't think you can control. I don't know, maybe you can. If you can, hit me up. I want to know how to do that. Okay, but I just wanted to make that point. So there you go. I got some of these laws from some references are The Science of Being by Baron Eugene Fersen, and The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra. Those are some of the references if you want to find out more. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope this helped you, and I already can't wait to be with you again. Would you like to support my mission to help empower people all over the world to be all of who they truly are? If so, please subscribe to the show, leave a review on iTunes, and share it with a friend. And if you're looking to take immediate action to align your energy and optimize your health, visit amyfournier.com. Thanks for listening to Awakening Aphrodite. Let's awaken her together in you. I'm your hostess, Amy Fournier, and I already can't wait to be with you again and for you to hear what I have planned for the next show.
Thanks for listening to Awakening Aphrodite with Amy Fournier. To learn more about Amy, check out her website, amyfournier.com. That's amyfournier.com. You can also check out Amy's live and on-demand virtual fitness and yoga classes, and sign up for her newsletter to receive a free mini ebook of 3 of her top tips for making holistic health a lifestyle. Again, that's amyfournier.com, and get your ebook sent to your email immediately. Connect with Amy on the daily on Instagram at FitAmyTV, FitAmyTV, and watch many of the podcast episodes and subtopic clips on her YouTube channel, which is also FitAmyTV. Enjoy, and we'll see you next time on Awakening Aphrodite.